Democratic elections present, of course, citizens with an opportunity to elect their preferred leaders, and the region has embraced that. How would you rate the level of democracy in the SADC region?
Yeah, generally, many of the SADC member states have, at the symbolic or pronouncement level, embraced multipartyism as well as regular elections as the system of governance and of electing public representatives. We must also take note that SADC member states have adopted the SADC principles and guidelines governing democratic elections. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done to internalize the values and principles of democracy and to ensure that the elections that are conducted in SADC adhere to the principles of democratic elections, including the responsibilities of the states. Yes, we have adopted democracy, but still there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Now, there are some who argue that democracy is both good and bad, but when it comes to governance, is it the best option? Because people in some countries have expressed views of suppression at the polls or do not really see the need to vote. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think we need to answer that question by understanding the underlying and values and principles of democracy. It's about citizenry participation in the democratic processes, as well as upholding the principles of transparency, openness, and managing the affairs of the state in a transparent and open manner, as well as keeping those that are elected answerable, accountable. So Africa have experimented with all types of governance system. You have a one-party state, you have the military rule. Mm-hmm. Now we are experimenting with especially liberal democracy. I think for now, that is the best option that we have. Maybe in the future it will evolve. But for now, it is the system that we think is appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Now, there have also been instances of election results being contested, including here at home, instances that were rare, of course, in the past. But what, in your opinion, triggers this?
Yeah, I think it's the perceived biases, especially towards the incumbent, by the bodies that are responsible for managing elections. Sometimes they are seen as not being partial, that they are not professional, that they are not staffed by competent people to take on these responsibilities seriously. But I think what is important is the need for impartial, professional, and independent electoral commissions, as well as commissioners with integrity, as well as the competent professional staff. And also we need to fund our electoral commissions adequately for them to carry out their responsibilities. Mm-hmm. If not, we'll see contestation based on the basis of favoritism and perceived favors in favor of certain political parties, especially incumbents.
In South Africa, we've seen reports of difference in opinion on who to vote for, other than the governing party, the ANC, especially by the former presidents. How do you see things panning out given their influence?
Yeah, I don't foresee any serious impact of what we are witnessing, especially in South Africa. The reasons being the majority of the voters by now have already decided whom they will vote. Secondly, the former presidents have been head of states with the mandate to improve the material conditions of the people. Where are these new ideas and policies coming from that they now have to improve the conditions of people. I see it as an abuse of the ordinary people because they have their chance, they had the opportunity. If they are now saying that things have not improved, what is it that they have been doing? So I don't see it having an impact. It might have some impact on undecided voters, but by now, the majority of the voters have decided how and whom to vote.
Now, finally, in Namibia, of course, we'll also be going to the polls later this year, and one can only guess how the campaign is going to be, especially with the fielding of a female candidate by the governing party, SWAPO, and also, of course, the energy coming from the opposition parties. What do you foresee happening this year?
Yeah, I foresee a contested election, both for the presidential as well as the members of the National Assembly. But in my view, a female candidate is important, but it's not significant enough unless the candidate has a concrete plan to resolve the nation question of Namibia, which is economic growth, equitable distribution of wealth, addressing the high unemployment rate, especially among the youth, as well as the social and economic inequalities, as well as the housing, land crisis, and the many problems that we have. We need a capable state. We need competent and capable leadership because our challenges are too many. So the parties that will have concrete ideas and strategies are likely to be seen as the parties to vote for, because we are getting into this election against the background of distrust of the ordinary people towards the members of the National Assembly as well as the National Council. If you read the 2021 Afrobarometer survey, it is clearly showing that there is a distrust developing. Secondly, we are getting into this election when the limitations of liberation movement politics is actually being challenged. In other words, parties that will go there with a different message, with a different strategy, with different messengers are likely to be trusted instead of the old message that we have had, because our problems are serious and they need serious leaders to address them.